Well, the World Health Organization says that some 23 million people were likely impacted in Turkey and Syria following the earthquakes and aftershocks. And humanitarian groups are working around the clock to deliver aid to those in need. Nicole Hark is joining us now. She is the deputy country director for Syria with Mercy Corps, a humanitarian team working on the front lines of the disaster. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, we've seen a lot of coverage from Turkey. It's the area that's easier to get to than Syria. And we heard in Jared Hill's report that the UN has actually only authorized one road to get supplies in and out, and that road has been ripped apart by an earthquake. We have not covered what's been happening in Syria for a while now. Why is there only one road open, and how challenging does that make things for your organization?
Thanks, Anne-Marie, for having me. Yeah, so access to Northwest Syria is complex. You have two governments and three authorities kind of setting the conditions for humanitarian response in coordination with the United Nations. And so as a result, it is really difficult to look at sort of just getting basic supplies in and out, and of course, people and access as well. We have heard that there may be sort of changes in that dynamic going forward, but at the moment we are definitely looking at sort of the critical challenge around stocks of essential items. We do have supplies organizations like Mercy Corps keep on hand. We have pre-positioned over 1,700 kits that we have immediately started distributing as a result of the disaster, but that will, of course, quickly dwindle. And we know that we are talking with suppliers, but we need both humanitarian roads as well as commercial supply routes to be open as soon as possible so that we can get more supplies in.
And to just give people sort of a sense, you know, you talked about how complicated it is, three governments. You know, Syria is still in the midst of a civil war, and this is an area of the country that is portions of it rebel held. So this is sort of the last vestige of those who have been fighting against Bashar al-Assad and the Syrian government. And now there have been, you know, calls around the world for Bashar al-Assad to step in, to help, to make it easier to get aid to this area. But this is an area that has been struggling for a while. How does this add to the challenge? What were things like even before this earthquake?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, even before the earthquake, we were looking at over 4 million people that were going hungry inside of Northwest Syria after over a decade of conflict. The systems are weak, economic challenges are pervasive. So people were already really in a very fragile state before the earthquake. But this is, to some extent, almost a new kind of fear, a different kind of impact. There are displacement camps where we've already been providing water for more than 1 million people. They were reliant on water trucking regularly. Those were damaged by the earthquake as well. And so we are looking at things that need to be repaired just for basic water supplies. Shelter was already crowded, and now more people are looking for shelter. You have folks sleeping in cars. We have staff in our own offices because of the situation now.
And when you talk about shelter, I imagine these are not buildings that can withstand an earthquake. This magnitude is a massive earthquake anyway, but I imagine that the structures there were not particularly safe to begin with.
Yeah, there's a variety of different types of shelter, but that is one of the primary areas of focus, both for our needs assessment, but also just in terms of, I mean, as you saw in the footage, right, the number of people still trapped, the amount of debris and debris removal. There's sort of concerns about heavy equipment as well, just in terms of being able to get access to people and places in need.
What do you want the rest of the world to know about the people in this area of Syria?
I think in general, I mean, the people are incredibly resilient. They're up against significant challenges and struggles over the last decade, but there is still a lot of resolve, and people are coming together to support. I think, to be honest, in addition to sort of a desperate need for food, water, shelter, basic supplies, they also need a continued and sustained focus. There's a lot going on in the world, and I think I would say it's just to not look away, to stay focused and remember the people in Syria.
Nicole Hark, thank you, and thank you for the work that Mercy Corps is doing. Thanks.
Thank you.